Let me ask you a quick question, and I want you to be completely honest with yourself. Are you actually in control of your own mind? No fluff, no easy answers. Just look at your behavior over the last few months and be real with yourself. And before you answer, let me ask you another question. Have you ever just laid in bed at night, scrolled past a video about overcoming lust or porn addiction, and felt this sudden wave of superiority? You look at the thumbnail, you see the dramatic title, and you swipe away thinking, man, what a bunch of losers. I'm glad I'm not like that. You give yourself this massive moral high ground. You convince yourself that because you aren't completely bottomed out, you're entirely fine, but that could not be further from the truth. The dangerous bit about the trap you are in right now is that it is designed to go completely unnoticed in your mind. Because those guys you are looking down on, the ones making those videos or commenting under them, credit where credit is due, they have actually accepted their problem and they are actively trying to do something about it. They aren't hiding. But you are living in absolute denial, using a checklist of excuses to protect your ego. You use these small buffers to convince yourself that you are somehow different, that you are above the struggle, while the habit quietly takes deeper root every single day that you refuse to look at it clearly. Maybe your excuse is that you don't watch porn that often. Maybe you tell yourself, well, I don't beat my meat every day, so it doesn't count as an addiction. But at the end of the day, when the boredom hits and the quiet room gets too heavy, what happens? You're scrolling through YouTube, getting that easy dopamine rush, and a specific thought pops into your head. A thumbnail flashes, a trigger clicks, and you think, well, why don't I just search for, just to get that feeling? And sure, credit where due, you don't do it every single day. You tell yourself that because it only happens once in a while. You're the one pulling the strings, but you still do it, and that is exactly what counts. How many times have you stood up, washed your hands, looked at yourself in the mirror, and promised yourself that this was the absolute last time? You feel the shame, you make the vow, and you genuinely mean it in that moment, only to find yourself back in the exact same spot a month later doing the exact same thing. You let a few weeks of good behavior trick you into thinking the problem is solved, but the moment your guard drops, the cycle starts all over again. The worst part about all of this is how people normalize it online. You open social media and people are casually joking about gooning or turning severe, mind-rotting habits into relatable memes. But let me talk to you from firsthand experience. That shit completely messes with your head. It is not harmless entertainment. Slow and steady, it completely distorts your perspective. You start looking at women entirely differently, not as people, but as objects to satisfy a sudden urge. Your mind fills with these messed up, hyper-sexualized thoughts that you would never dare say out loud to another human being. It changes the way you walk through the world, warping your focus until you can't even hold a normal conversation without those intrusive thoughts creeping in. And because you know how dark those thoughts are, you've become incredibly good at hiding it. You walk around, you look normal, you act innocent, and nobody in your life has any idea what you are fighting against when you're alone with your phone. You've built a perfect mask. You put on this front of being completely detached from it all, playing the role of the clean, disciplined guy while carrying this heavy secret around in your pocket. The disconnect between who people think you are and what you do in isolation just makes the internal weight so much harder to carry. When you live with that kind of internal divide, it starts to bleed into everything else you do. You find yourself becoming more cynical, more easily distracted, and constantly exhausted because your brain is running on low-grade background anxiety. You become terrified of anyone actually seeing through the innocence you project. You guard your phone like it holds your entire identity, reacting with a spike of panic if someone even looks toward your screen. That isn't freedom. That is living like a prisoner in your own skin, constantly terrified that the version of you that exists in the dark is going to catch up with the version of you that walks around in the daylight. The internet tells you that this is just what modern life looks like, that everyone is doing it, so it shouldn't matter. But deep down, you know it matters, because you can feel the erosion of your own willpower. Every time you give in to that quick hit of dopamine, you are training your brain to choose the path of least resistance. You are teaching yourself that you cannot trust your own word. When you lose the ability to trust your own promises, your self-confidence completely disintegrates. You start backing down from other challenges in life, whether it's your goals, your studies, or your passions, because a voice in the back of your head reminds you that you can't even control your own hands when you're alone in a room. So, what do we actually do about this? First, we have to drop the ego and admit that we are addicted to lust in the different forms we have been using. Stop comparing yourself to the worst case scenarios online just to make yourself feel clean. If you cannot stop doing something that you have repeatedly promised yourself you would stop doing, you are not the one in control. Admission is the hardest part because it forces you to step off that fake moral high ground, but nothing changes until you look at the monster plainly. You have to say the words to yourself without any filters, without any justifications, and without trying to soften the blow to your pride. Second, once you admit it, you have to brutally block access to it. Stop trusting your willpower. Your willpower fails every single time you get bored or lonely, or when the night gets too quiet and your mind starts wandering. If you are serious, get an app on your phone that blocks adult websites, block them on Chrome, and set up barriers that force your brain to slow down when the urge hits. Delete the specific apps that act as your primary triggers. Don't leave the door unlocked and expect yourself to just be strong enough to hold it shut when the storm hits. Make it incredibly difficult to fail so that your logical brain has time to kick back in before you make a choice you'll regret. And finally, the biggest thing you can do is change your environment. This addiction thrives in isolation. It grows when you are locked in your room, staring at a screen, hiding from the world. You need to spend time outside with real people. Go touch some grass. Reconnect with reality, get out of your head, and stop letting a screen dictate how you see the human race. Find things that actually challenge you and demand your full focus in the physical world. Build deep, real connections with people where you don't have to wear a mask or hide what you are going through. The more you anchor yourself in real life, the less power that digital illusion has over your mind. It's time to stop hiding from yourself. That's all for now, guys. Peace.